Johnny Dollar.
Clark Tracy at Providential Assurance Company.
Yeah, hiya, Clark.
I'm glad I caught you in. Are you free to take an assignment?
Sure, why not?
Did you ever hear of Kennett, Missouri?
No.
It's a small town about 100 miles south of Memphis, Tennessee.
So what goes?
We have a little office in Kennett, only it's become pretty obvious that we put the wrong man in charge of it a few months ago.
What do you mean?
His name is Charles Kingsley St. Clair. Lived in Boston most of his life, and he's a Harvard man.
So?
He doesn't have the least idea how to deal with those people when it comes to any problems or adjustments. In other words, he simply doesn't belong.
Well, the answer to that ought to be easy enough. Transfer him. Give him a job somewhere up here in New England.
Exactly what we plan to do, and close up the office there in Kennett.
Okay, then why call on me?
Because of the death of one of the few remaining policyholders down there, a man named Casper Crump.
Yeah?
His widow, Eupha Crump, has to be paid the $5,000 as due her and, of course, sign for it.
Well, what's so tough about that?
St. Clair says that he can't do it.
Why not?
If you must know the truth, he sounded somewhat scared of the whole idea.
Oh, now listen.
So, Johnny, will you go on out there and take care of this thing for us and get us off the hook?
But on the strength of what little you've told me.
I know, but I'm sure St. Clair will be able to make it all perfectly clear to you. So I'll wire to him that you're on your way, okay?
Oh, no, look.
Johnny, I promise I'll okay your expense account without question, even tack on some kind of a fee.
Well, now you're talking a language I understand. If the fee is big enough?
Then you'll do it. Fine.
Now take it easy until we settle
I'll wire him right away.
Clark!
Then wait to get your report.
Wait a minute, will you?
Thanks a million, Johnny. Bye.
Clark! Hello.
CBS Radio brings you Bob Bailey in the exciting adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
And now, Act One of yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to the Providential Assurance Company, Home Office, Hartford, Connecticut. Following is an account of expenses incurred during my investigation of the Moonshine Matter. Expense account item 1, $75.45, plane ticket from Hartford to New York to Memphis, Tennessee. Item 2, $301 for a bus to Kennett, Missouri. I arrived shortly after noon.
Yes, Mr. Dollar, I shall be glad to get away from here and get back to civilized country again, where I won't be looked at askance because I choose to dress for dinner.
I see.
I must admit that some of the natives living here in town are fine people, intelligent people.
Oh, I'm sure they must be. This looks like a nice town.
But the ones out in the country to whom my predecessor sold insurance, life insurance.
Yeah, what about them, St. Clair?
Poor white trash is all they are, ignorant, illiterate. Moonshiners, for the most part.
Oh?
Only half a dozen of the policies he issued even have signatures on them. The rest are signed with an X. The people didn't even know what they were buying.
Your predecessor must have been quite a salesman.
Hardly a fit representative for a large insurance company, which, of course, is why the company got rid of him. Yes, Mr. Dollar, I shall be glad to get away from this, but until the insurance payment can be made to Mrs. Eupha Crump.
Well, any reason why you just can't call her in here and hand her a check?
Call her? How?
What do you mean?
She lives in the swamp, Mr. Dollar.
In the swamp?
20-mile swamp up north of here. It's terrible country. It's hardly fit habitation, even for the wildcats and coons and otter and the cottonmouths that infest it. A treacherous, swampy jungle.
Ah, I see.
A veritable nest of moonshiners, too. And if you think a gentleman would dare to simply walk in among those people...
So I'm no gentleman, so you sent for me.
And don't forget that Casper Crump died under, shall we say, questionable circumstances.
Oh, now, what do you mean by that?
The natives all said it was murder.
What do the police say?
The police have sense enough to leave these people alone. They stay away from them.
Oh, great.
But, Mr. Dollar, if you can somehow clear up this one remaining account, get this money in to Mrs. Eupha Crump, and I have it here in cash all ready for you.
Stick my neck out to save yours, huh?
To be honest about it, yes.
Okay. Let's say I'll try. How do I get to this 20-mile swamp? St. Clair drew me a rough map, handed me the $5,000, and wished me luck. Item 3 is $20 deposit on a rental car from one of the local garages. And what a car. It should have hit the junk heap 15 years ago and was actually held together in spots with baling wire. The left-hand door was closed with the help of a piece of rope. But it was transportation of a sort. I headed west a few miles and then north into some of the wildest country I've ever seen. It reminded me of the Everglades in Florida. The so-called road I followed was a deeply rutted set of wagon tracks full of mud and potholes. On both sides, the brush-covered, soggy swamp. There were huge, rotting logs crawling with water moccasins out sunning themselves. Yeah, I was glad I had some kind of a path to follow. And then up ahead, I saw a shack sitting on stilts to keep it above floodwater. But as I slowed down to make a turn over toward it, the gunshot from over by the cabin smashed into the windshield. I stepped on it and spun the wheel to get away. But the second shot caught a front tire. The car went into a skid.
And now, Act 2 of yours truly, Johnny Dollar and the Moonshine Matter.
When I came to, I was lying beside the car at the edge of the muddy wagon tracks. As for my gun, well, it must have been thrown out of the holster into the swamp. I started to rise to see how much damage had been done to the car. But then I saw them. Two lanky, hard-faced men dressed in tattered jeans. One of them, the taller of the two, carried a long rifle, a vintage I'd seen only in museums. The other had picked up a piece of a tree limb for a club. And so as they came warily over to where I lay, I decided wisdom is the better part of valor. I played possum.
I tell you, you made a mistake, Morphy. He ain't no revenue. Can't you see that?
Maybe cash and maybe not.
Of course he ain't. I know every revenue in these parts, Morphy, and he ain't one of them.
You think I killed him, Cass?
He didn't hit that there tree hard enough to hurt his car none serious.
And who is he, Cass?
First we finds out if he's still alive or if he's dead.
Well, I'm keeping this here gun on to him.
You still alive, mister? See that, Morphy? He ain't still alive.
What happened?
Now, you watch him, Cass.
Who are you?
Me, my name's Cass Dingle, and this here is Morphy Teed. Now, you put down that gun, Morphy.
You ask him who he is, Cass.
Who are you, mister?
Name is Dollar. Johnny Dollar.
What you doing out here, Mr. Dollar?
Well, I've come with some money. Some insurance money for Mrs. Eufa Crump.
What's that mean, Cass?
It mean that Miss Eufa gets some money on account of Casper was killed. She's a mighty fine woman, Mr. Dollar.
She's a mighty fine woman, Mr. Johnny.
You shut up, Morphy. Just 'cause I got a fancy for taking care of Miss Eufa now that Casper's gone, it's none of your business. Now, how much you got for Miss Eufa, Mr. Johnny?
$5,000.
What's the matter, you, Cass? Can't you see we got to get Miss Johnny and all that money over to Miss Eufa? Now, come on now.
If and he be all right. You all right, Mr. Johnny?
Well, give me a hand and we'll find out.
Yes, sir. There you are, Mr. Johnny.
Why, Mr. Johnny.
What's the matter?
That now holster. Ain't you got a gun for hit?
I'm afraid my gun is somewhere out in that swamp.
Now, that's too bad, ain't it, Cap?
Morphy's right, Mr. Johnny. There's some folks around here liable they'd shoot first and find out about you after.
Some folks, huh?
Now, I made a mistake, Mr. Johnny, and I'm real sorry. But Cass, he meant somebody like Dade Whopper.
Yeah, who's Dade Whopper?
Why, he's the one that killed off Casper Crump.
You sure of that?
Yes, sir.
Dade Whopper.
But no matter who you are, you better look out for him, Mr. Johnny.
Why do you say that?
No matter who you are, he ain't gonna believe it. He's gonna think you come in here after him.
Even if you tell him different?
Even if the good Lord himself told him different. But now I got a jug in that cabin, Mr. Johnny. It'll fix you up real good. Then me and you can take the money to Miss Eufa.
And then you better come back here and find your gun in case Dade Whopper shows up.
Oh, don't worry about it. As soon as I turn over that money to you for Crump, I'm on my way.
And now, Act 3 of yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Cass Dingle's cabin. Well, I'm afraid I've never stepped into a more squalid, filthy, grimy place. How a human being could ever live in it, much less call it his home.
After I join up with Miss Eufa, maybe she'll make it even nicer. Maybe even hang up some of them lacy curtains.
Anyhow, on the excuse I needed all the fresh air I could get, I sat on the doorsill. As for the jug of corn liquor that Cass dug up, brother.
Right out of Casper Crump's big still. That's Miss Eufa's now. The best there is.
The first gulp had me gasping for breath. I felt like I was on fire inside. So Cass strained the tadpoles out of some branch water for a chaser. After the second snort, I was ready to tackle anybody in the world single-handed. Even Dade Whopper.
I told you that'd fix you up. And now, oughtn't we go see Miss Eufa?
Yeah, sure, Cass, why not? Only, where's Morphy?
Oh, he took in his dugout and went on ahead to say the good news.
Dugout?
So me and you, we'll go in mine.
Well, sir, if you've never ridden in one of those tiny dugouts, you have something not to look forward to. Every minute as he pulled us along through the swamp, I was sure the narrow little craft would tip over. But he handled it well, and after a quarter mile or so up the slough, as he called it, we landed in front of another, a larger cabin. But then...
Mr. Dollar?
Yeah? What is it, Morphy?
One of Eufa's young uns, the spoilt one.
You mean that no-good lazy, huh?
That's the one, Cass. He heard me tell Miss Johnny's here. He run off to tell Dade Whopper.
Oh, that ain't good, Miss Johnny. He'll be coming here after you.
So what? Stop worrying about it, Cass. We'll just take things as they come.
But Dade Whopper's poison.
Dade Whopper's pie?
Yeah, well, stop worrying. Let's go in and see Mrs. Crump.
Now, Mr. Johnny, I hate to say this.
Well?
But when somebody says stop worrying about Dade Whopper...
Yeah?
I sure hope none of that white mule ain't gone to your head, Mr. Johnny.
Mrs. Eufa Crump, much to my surprise, turned out to be a rather nice-looking girl of about 20, despite the fact she was the mother of 4 kids. Her cabin boasted 4 separate rooms, a couple of worn-out rugs on the floor, some lace curtains. With almost childish delight, she put her ex on the receipt for the insurance and stuffed the money into a hiding place under the floor, then made no bones about the fact that most of it would go to improving the moonshine still her husband had left her with.
And with Cass here helping me, it's going to be the best still in all these here now parts.
Well, good for you, Mrs. Crump.
And, Cass, I'm going to see that you get yourself a nice suit of clothes, a whole suit.
Oh, now, you...
And, Mr. Johnny, I thank you very much, sir.
My pleasure, Eufa.
Only now, you two better get on your way. If that brat of mine, that Lacey, has found Dade Whopper and told him...
Dade Whopper.
What, Morphy?
Dade Whopper. He's a-coming down the slough in his dugout. He's gotten that shotgun with him, too, that he loads up with slugs, and he's coming after you, Mr. Johnny.
Mr. Johnny, me and you, we better get out of here.
Oh, now listen to me, Cass.
He's all liquored up, and he ain't going to stop to argue with nobody.
Then, Cass, you and Mr. Johnny get on out of here real fast.
With 3 of us here? Now listen, all of you.
No, sir, Mr. Johnny. Now, you come on with me.
And now, Act 4 of yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Morphy was scared. My gun was somewhere out in the swamp. So again, it was a case of letting wisdom be the better part of valor. especially after Morphy made it plain that even his rifle wouldn't mean a thing against Whopper when he'd had a jugful. Morphy promised to do all he could to keep Dade from following us. But by the time Cass and I got halfway down the slough, we could see Dade coming after us. And he was a big man, too. And though Cass was mighty skillful with the pushing pole, he kept gaining on us.
We can't make it, Mr. Johnny.
Then push us in anywhere, Cass.
But we can try, sir. We can try.
Morphy say that he keeps that thing loaded with slugs?
Yes, sir. Drunk or sober. He can hit anything with it.
Then pull us over and we'll take our chances in the woods. He's not more than 35 or 40 yards. Cass was dead before he hit the water. I jumped over after him into the shallow swamp. I started swimming over to a sort of island, a big grassy hummock. And over my shoulder, I could see that Dade was raising his gun again, aiming at me. I grabbed a lungful of air and went under. Changed my course, swimming toward a patch of tules, hoping I'd have enough breath to get to it. Several times as I swam along under the surface, I brushed aside something living. Maybe they were moccasins, I don't know. But they were nothing to the danger from the drink-crazed man with a shotgun. Finally, my lungs bursting, I reached the tules and came to the surface, emerging slowly and breathing as quietly as I could.
Dollar! Dollar! I know you're out here. I know you come to get me, too, for killing Casper Crump.
I held my breath.
But you ain't gonna. But I'm gonna get you first. There ain't nobody get you away from me, you hear me? I can see the mud you stirred
He
when you
could
come
track
up
me
out
by
here.
the mud I'd stirred up when I'd swum along on the water. He was ready with a shotgun to do the same thing to me he'd done to Cass, to kill me. And all I had were my two bare hands and my wits. I could hear him coming closer, closer. He was at the other side of the patch of tules now, his gun ready for me. I could see his hulking shadow now.
I got you now, Dollar. I'm going to kill you now.
Quietly, I slipped under the water again, and I swam hard for where I'd seen him. And then I found his legs, and with all the strength I had, I lifted him. No, you Dave! But he missed, and I struck him, and I struck him, and I struck him. So maybe those people were pretty much a law unto themselves. But Dade Whopper went back to Kennett. There he'll stand trial for 2 murders. And I'll just continue to poke along in this soft, cozy little job of mine. Yeah. Expense account total, including some new clothes and a trip back to Hartford, $340 even. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Our star will return in just a moment. Now, here is our star to tell you about next week's program.
Well, next week I go deep underground into a copper mine to meet a killer in the dark. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, originates in Hollywood and is written, produced, and directed by Jack Johnstone. Heard in our cast were Virginia Gregg, Harry Bartell, Ben Wright, Sam Edwards, Vic Perrin, and Ralph Moody.